Welcome back to Rebel Health. I'm Dr. Ellen Vora, holistic psychiatrist practicing in New York City usually, although now I'm reporting to you from Tel Aviv, Israel, as I'm traveling around the world for 6 months. And the insight to share with you today is that, so this trip, we had it all planned out and mapped out. We had our itinerary, had all our flights booked. It was a whole big organized thing. And then about 2 weeks into a 6.5-month trip, we had a family emergency happen back in the States. And so within 24 hours, we were back on a 3-leg journey back to the States. And everything was completely up in the air. Everything was completely up in the air. What was this trip going to be? Were we ever going to resume? What was going to happen in our family life? All completely up in the air. And a lot of people were asking us, like, are you disappointed or are you frustrated? Or, that's too bad that your trip got detoured in this way. And I think far from, I think that really I think all fail to recognize that we don't really get to have a plan, right? Like, you do your best, you make your itinerary, you book your flights, but then what the heck ends up happening is so completely out of our control, and that's just fine. And so I think that, if anything, I like the clarity of when it's that quote unquote the universe knocking on your door and saying, yoo-hoo, you thought you were going here, but actually you're going here. It's those times when you actually don't have clarity, where it's a little bit ambiguous and you have to make a judgment call. That's a lot harder. So we had clarity 2 weeks into the 6.5-month journey, and it was very clear that we actually had to fly 3 legs back to the States to make sure that we were there with family. And so the takeaway here is, have your plan, but don't be attached to it. And if it becomes very clear that the so-called universe is guiding you in some completely different direction, don't strong arm that, don't resist it, don't dig your heels in. You just completely flow with it, surrender to it, and feel grateful when there's actually clarity in the fact that you very much have to go one way or the other. And just this whole ride is a surrender. And I think that we all can benefit from that, because we don't really ever get to control anything anyway, and things go a lot more easily when we don't try to control it. So with that, we'll talk to you next time on Rebel Health.